All right, good morning. Good morning. Today's January 30th. We're going to check out the market. We're going to talk about the earnings that happened last night with Tesla, Meta, and Microsoft. And then we'll tip off on some of the stocks we're looking at today. Before we go that, let's talk about what happened on yesterday. So in the market on yesterday's video, I talked about the earnings with Starbucks, which is a stock that we would be looking at. And we see Starbucks did exactly what we thought it was going to do. It jumped off into a bullish morning, which we got in, uh, and we got out probably right around this 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock frame, probably a little earlier. Could have stayed in and rolled it all the way up, maybe got 300%. But we did very well on the Starbucks. Also, the FOMC meeting popped off at 2 o'clock yesterday. It talked about being in those plays. Actually, the market gave a really good tip that it was going to be a bearish day throughout the day. We traded the QQQ and the SPY. We go down to a 15-minute time frame. All right. And that throughout the morning, the QQQ on the 15-minute was under the 8. We got in around this time frame here. Once it broke the 8 again, we flushed that all the way down to 517. And SPY did pretty much the same thing yesterday. So yesterday, the news worked out really well for us in trading. Today, we'll take a look at what happened after hours. So Tesla had earnings. All right, so let's take a look at Tesla. Tesla dropped its earnings yesterday. There was an initial drop all the way down to 365. So that might be a level of support today. But then it also ran up to 400, 407. So what we're going to do this morning is look and see which way Tesla's going to go now. It's already around $400 early this morning. We got a level between 401 and 390 that is setting up, but we do probably see a bearish trend forming. So we'll keep an eye on that. If Tesla want to drop, obviously we're going to ride that down. That's another almost $30 between where it is now and where one of the wicks touched overnight. So we'll be looking at Tesla's bearish, and you can pretty much sure that there's going to be the market might not take off as much, but Tesla's not the only dog in the fight to this morning. Let's take a look at Microsoft. So Microsoft had earnings, and when it actually dropped as well, Microsoft's earnings dropped, but we know Microsoft has been bullish over the past month or 2 months. Maybe investors took their profit. But we do see Microsoft was up at 445. This morning it's down at 424. This could mean that Microsoft could bounce and go back up and retest 430, 445 today, because it's pretty getting closer to that level of support. It was 413 was the low. So we'll be on the watch for that as well. Not going to front run Microsoft and Tesla. Both of these stocks are pretty expensive during the earnings day, during the earnings announcement. So we'll be looking at some of their partners in the market in the tech space. We might play those, or we might just play the SPY or SPX. But we'll see. Let's take a look at Meta. All right, we see Meta entered around 670 yesterday and went all the way up to 716. Now it's right back at the level of yesterday close. So this is a good one. We'll obviously give it some time. If it break out over yesterday close, then we can have another run up and test it. Right now, we see a little bearishness, but things can change by the time the market opens. We'll just pay attention to that. But the level had to break before we get in is probably somewhere around 675. We'll see where it's going, but if it does, it can break low. And if this bearish trend continues in the morning, this is a good day to short the SPY and QQQ. And like I said, those are a lot more affordable options, and you can double or triple your money within a couple of dollar moves. So those are the things we'll probably be watching out this morning. If we don't trade those, let's take a look at Amazon. There's a stock that kind of moves in alignment with some of those Meta and Microsoft stocks. Amazon looks like it has a good bracket between 236 and 237. You like to see those because it's just another level of support and resistance. Gives you a good indication if it breaks out to the strength and the MACD continues in one direction, you might play it up. There is a couple levels of resistance at 238 and 240, but if it goes down, there's not much there. And actually, you probably prefer it to go down so you can make a lot more profit. Oh, let's take a look at another sector that has big earnings today, and that is going to be financials. So we'll take a look at Mastercard. Now, Mastercard and Visa I talked about earlier this week. The stock's been killing it the last 3 months, and they probably will continue to do well. The financial sector will probably do well due to a lot of the deregulation expected with the new administration. But again, people could just take their profits and run. So we'll see. So they got a good 551 and 546 levels of support. The trend has been to the upside. I would say if it breaks this 555, it's probably running up another $10. But again, we don't front run the financials or the earnings report. We just let it play and then we'll jump in. So stocks that we'll be looking at in confluence with Mastercard and Visa is probably American Express. Again, Mastercard and Visa stock option contracts are a little expensive during their earnings week, so we'll probably take a look at American Express and maybe Capital One, that's COF, and see what the trend is in that sector. All right, American Express had a nice drop. Was that maybe Tuesday, then Wednesday? Ran up a couple dollars. Now it's been bracketed in. Probably waiting on the news from Mastercard and Visa. It's just $3.17 to $3.19, $2. I probably wouldn't play that. But if they fall, I'll look into maybe jumping into those. We'll see. The only other sector is CAT, and that's Caterpillar. Now, have played Caterpillar in the past. This might be a sign. Wow. Because a Caterpillar aftermarket has already fell almost $20. Keep an eye on it. Because that's a pretty big fall. It might settle maybe around 9:45, 10 o'clock and start a reverse back to the upside. But we'll see. Today, again, I think it's the tech sector is probably the easiest play just because there's so much data in that sector with the Tesla, Meta, and Microsoft earnings and ServiceNow also last night. So the XLK, the QQQ is what we'll probably be looking at. It's probably be the easiest to trade. And I think that's the focus of today. On Friday, again, we have Apple coming out after market on Thursday. So the tech sector being played on Friday. And then we have Exxon Mobil and Chevron and Phillips. So oil and gas. I like oil and gas because when they move on earnings, they move pretty good. And those contracts are fairly reasonable. All right. So that's today's setup for January 30th. If this video has been helpful, please subscribe and we'll check you out in the next one. All right. Be blessed.